picture this. It's April 2022, you sit down at the theater to watch some random A24 movie that you've never heard about, and the first thing you see is this. And today, we're going to be recreating that. So the last video that I did recreating the aesthetic of the Batman did really well on the standards of my channel and one of the first things that I released. So I figured what better way to come back than with one of my favorite shots in all of movie history, probably. This video took a really long time to make, so over the course of the video you'll probably see many different changes. I mean, you know, my hair might change a little, it might go from fall to Christmas to now February, but you know, stuff like this takes time, and I wanted to make sure that I was putting together the best video that I could for you guys and not really rushing any portion of it. I'm glad to be presenting this to you now. I hope you guys really enjoy this, and let's just jump into breaking down this shot. The camera movements are really what appeal to me in this shot, but we still have to do a lighting breakdown for it so that I can see what kind of gear I need to, you know, have access to. This shot is very hard to see how it is lit. I can see obviously on the books here that, you know, it would look like a window is lighting these from, you know, the front and off to the left side. You know, you can also see because the highlights on this side of the mirror as opposed to nothing on this side. But everything else in the image, it's really soft. Everything that is being lit is really soft. You can see the highlights on whatever these things are over here. But obviously, you know, your light is coming from the left side of screen left. And this mirror is obviously oriented so that this side over here is not being hit by the light. I'm not, like, set dressing wise, I'm not going to be able to get even close to how cool that looks because I don't have a little raccoon figure. I wish I did, but unfortunately that's not in the books for me. I can get the mirror though. It's not going to be the same kind of a mirror, but I can get the mirror. Obviously I can get the books, but inside the reflection is where things really get interesting because obviously, you know, we have our practical in the middle of the frame and obviously we have the TV here that is emitting light. So this practical is shining up onto the roof, but that's also casting light down on the table here because you can see these objects are all illuminated. If I clear all this stuff out, you can see that I think all of these here are catching the light from whatever, you know, this window source was right here. And so these are being illuminated with a much cooler tone as opposed to the practical. So I think for the, you know, your main big flat source, your really big soft source that is lighting all of these little things here, that's what's mainly lighting everything in this scene. And then you're also just getting a little bit more depth and a little bit more texture from this practical that is going both up and down onto the bit of the table here. Okay, so first things first, I want to just start by like just trying to shoot a test for this to see if this is even like feasible. I'm just gonna shoot the two shots that I need, take them into Premiere, see if they'll work. I genuinely don't know if this is gonna work at all, but I don't want to put like too much effort in first before I actually try it out. So I'm gonna shoot the shot of me at the couch first. Unfortunately, I don't have anyone here with me, so that one's not gonna be using a slider. That one's just gonna be static shot and do a digital zoom. And then after, I'm gonna try and use the slider on the mirror shot to, you know, hopefully give it a little bit more of a realistic camera movement. But I guess we'll just see how this goes. So So I've had an idea. So I mean, I'm gonna try to shoot one like on a profile, because that might be more convincing, as like, you know, the mirror is just like kind of, you know, off to the side from the couch or something. But I do have an idea that maybe I can do a little bit of like an alternative, where instead of doing it through a mirror, I can do it through the TV. That might be kind of creative. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna try both, and I think we're just gonna kind of see what happens. Somebody wanted to come say hi. Now for this shot, I had initially thought of using like a 50mm or using like something that had a really nice shallow depth of field. But then I really thought about it more. And in the actual shot, I mean, you've got a decently wide, you know, field of view on it. And in using a slider that's like as short of a distance as this, you know, you want it to feel like you are traveling really through that mirror. And so by using a smaller lens, like an 18mm, you get a lot more of that parallax of like perception of motion. Whereas if you're using a 50, you could be traveling a really long distance, but it's not gonna feel like you're traveling that far. Okay, so I want to elaborate what I was talking about before with this whole like parallax shift thing, and with like the implication of a shorter lens versus a longer lens when using a short slider like this. Right now I'm recording and this is on 18mm, and so I want you to see just how much distance it looks like we cover in camera. Whereas, I mean, the camera's only moving a foot back and forth, but it feels like we are covering so much distance versus now we're on 50mm. It really doesn't look like, this looks like we're moving a foot. Like you see the edges of the mirror and then you see no mirror. And that's really it. Now you get what I'm saying, because like if all you have is a small piece of equipment like this, you want to make it feel like you're covering a lot of distance. So there's a couple things that I learned in doing just this little test. The first thing and the biggest thing is that it's possible. I genuinely didn't know going into this if this would actually be like a thing that I could accomplish. I mean, I knew I could accomplish it, but I didn't know if it would actually look good. And I'm really excited that this is possible with such minimal equipment and with such cheap equipment. Huge win for the rest of this video. So the first thing that I'm gonna definitely need to make sure happens is that the lighting is consistent between the two shots. If they're two different lightings or if the exposure is different, it's totally gonna throw it off. The two shots aren't gonna look like they're a part of the same world and the same scene. It's gonna look like you're just doing a cheesy transition to a totally new shot. You can see with these two different tests that I did one shot straight on and then I did one shot from the side. Now my exposure changed in the camera from the shot that was straight on to the other one. So if you see the difference between this one, which I think looks better, is that, you know, the exposure and the whites and everything are pretty much the same, as opposed to this shot where the actual shot that we're transitioning into is much darker than the plate shot. And so therefore they don't necessarily look like they're a part of the same scene. The second thing is reflections. Because the mirror that I'm using is silver and shiny, it reflects everything around it. So if you can see in the reflection here, my Christmas tree. you can just see, you can see the reflection of the Christmas tree. That's something that I'm gonna really have to focus on, is blacking out the surroundings of the mirror
so that it's not reflecting unwanted things and just kind of like losing the effect. And then the third thing that's really gonna sell this effect, I kind of tried to do it with this one, was just adding more of those layers on top of it. So like making it convincing, because your mirror is not going to be perfectly clean. So like adding those little smudge overlays and adding a little bit of that mirror distortion and stuff like that. I just threw in a really like low resolution, like little smudge on there, and you can tell that it's an overlay. So when it comes to the actual shot, and like they do in Everything Everywhere, you can see the smudges and they're really high resolution, and then they kind of evaporate as you move in to the next shot. But overall, I'm happy. I think this works. The TV did not work. The TV is horrible. But this works, and I'm happy about it, and I'm really excited to actually start lighting the shot properly and really just creating something really cool.
Okay, so breaking down the first shot that we did here is, you know, it's not exactly what I wanted. I find that it's hard to recreate certain lighting styles just with the liminal space that I have. Like, I feel like in the original shot, you know, as we had discussed earlier in the video, there's a lot of depth in the original shot. And there's the separation of the entranceway and those two walls that are in front, and you see light catching on those walls. And, you know, in the shot of, you know, going through the mirror, there's so many things around it that can capture, you know, a lot of that light, and can capture a lot of texture, and that you can have so many shadows because you have so much room for it. And I just didn't have the luxury of having that location, having that kind of set dressing or anything. So I mean, I kind of did the best with what I could, but depth is a huge part of this, and, you know, having the space to put those different areas of light. Because in my case, you know, I set up 2 or 3 lights and I'm flooding the entire room. I don't have enough space to actually like shape light, which does really kind of suck. But I mean, I did the best with what I could. Getting that overhead light, I knew was never gonna happen. I knew that was absolutely not happening. So I mean, I used the lamp and I kind of tried to give it the same appearance on my face. I tried to go for a little bit of that overhead look, but I knew I'd never be able to achieve that, just due to lack of space and also lack of materials. What I tried to do is I kind of tried to go for more of a daylight, because you can clearly tell in the actual shot that it is daylight. They're totally shooting it during the day, or at least they're going for the look of daylight. I chose to shoot it at night so that I could have full control over everything. Don't know if that was necessarily the best thing. Honestly, I don't know. I think that I might have had more success if I tried to shoot it during the day, just because then I could use the sun as that big soft source coming from the side, and I wouldn't have to try and fabricate that. I really kind of tried to add a little bit of that depth by putting the plants in front of the lens to kind of give a little bit of depth, but it's not really working out that well. I realize that it's not the greatest. I kept the house lights on the opposite side, just to make sure that like it didn't seem too much like darkness. Like, I kind of wanted to fill a bit of that side of my face, and I wanted to fill it with more than just the lamp that was on that side, because that lamp is so warm, and it was, you know, I can't control it. I don't have a dimmer for it. So it was really pumping a lot of warm light, and I wanted to make sure that that was kind of balanced with a little bit of other light as well. So then we have the right side of my face, kind of the side of where all this daylight is supposed to be coming from. And you can see that, you know, I originally tried to use the light bar, and I think that the light bar would have been really good for this, because it's just softer and it's a little dimmer. But that died on me. So really not great planning on my part. So, you know, just having that CB100 and bouncing it off to kind of try and recreate a bit of that sunlight look. It's not perfect. But I think it kind of gets the idea across. And then I just use my little Ulanzi panel to kind of give a little bit more texture of that sunlight. Something that's really cool that you can do with sunlight is you can use one big source as kind of just like your fill. And then you can also highlight. You can use a tiny little light and really kind of target it at certain areas of the face to really kind of highlight the power of the sun, you can say. So I have the CB100 kind of diffusing a bit of that light, you know, kind of filling a bit of it. And then I've got my light panel just to kind of really target the side of my face to give myself a little bit more of those highlights. And that's pretty much it for the first shot. It definitely was a complicated lighting setup. I went through many different iterations of it. If I had more time, I'd probably just like continue to just change things. But I kind of ran out of time. And so I just wanted to make sure that this video got out and that you guys could learn from my mistakes, because this definitely isn't perfect. You know, I tried my best, but sometimes you just don't have the equipment that they have, you know? And then obviously our second shot is pretty basic. It's one light. I kept the lamp on in the background so that I could, you know, just still kind of fill the space, and so that it didn't feel like complete darkness. Kind of give it a little continuity between the two scenes. But I just used the Ulanzi light panel again. Really wish I could have used the light bar, because I think that would have given so much more of that same, like, you know, really vertical light source that you can see in the original shot. You know, the light is very much vertical. I kind of tried to hit it really from the side so that it wasn't casting a lot of light on everything, but I realized that in the little setup that I've made for myself, the light is actually decently deep into that cabinet, and you know, I can't really target things very much on a very harsh angle from the side, because that cabinet's in the way. So I really had to kind of bring the light a little more forward. But for a detail shot like this, I don't think it's super crucial. I really wish I could have got more of the shadows like they have in the original shot. They've got some really nice deep shadows, but I mean, I think it still looks okay. I think it still does the job. It's definitely not as wide of a shot as they had, but that's just due to the limitations that I had with the slider. You know, I only had a very short slider. I couldn't really pull off the depth that they had and the width that they have in their shot. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. It really means a lot that you guys kind of stuck around. I know that a lot of these videos I've been making have been like stupidly long, but I'm trying to, like, you know, pump out some content for you guys, make sure that you kind of embrace the whole experience of it and get to learn a bit from what I do in my process. I really appreciate those of you who stuck around and watched the whole thing. I mean, it means a lot to see that, you know, people aren't just dipping out after the first 2 minutes, which some of you might have. And you know what? That's fine, because I talk a lot. If you guys haven't seen it already and you kind of enjoy these style of videos, go check out my recreating the aesthetic of the Batman video, because I'm really proud of that one as well. And if you want to see more videos like along this line of like recreating certain scenes or certain shots or like aesthetics and lighting styles of different films, please let me know. Anything from, you know, a like, subscribing to the channel, dropping a comment down below, just telling me what you enjoy, maybe what you want to see next would super help me out. At the end of the day, I'm just here to have fun, you know, I'm just here to entertain you guys, to kind of take you along so that hopefully we can develop some skills together as filmmakers. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, that would be a huge help to me. It goes to show that, you know, what I'm doing is actually worth it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.